Hi guys, gals, and non-binary pals, and welcome back to another video. In this video, I'm redesigning one of my old OCs, Leo. This is the fourth video in a series where I redesign my old OCs. So the first video gives a lot of context for their universe, and the third one is about one of his close friends who he's kind of in like a group with, so that gives more context to his backstory. So I'd recommend checking those two videos out before this one if you haven't. Also, for once, not 100% of my viewers are subscribed. For these stats, I've always been going off recent videos, but in the past 28 days of my views, only 51% of my viewers are subscribed. Now, chances are if you're watching this video, you're subscribed, but if you're not, what are you doing? Just subscribe already. And on with the video. So, Leo's an interesting character because he kind of never had a personality. He just was there, never had much of a personality. His one defining trait was that he had a crush on Evie that he obviously knew was doomed because lesbian, but that's all I ever really did with his character. So I had like almost no foundation to go off of when thinking of his personality. Also, for this one, I forgot to outline my goals for this character design. Listen, this was probably one of the most difficult ones I've done because once again, I had no foundation. So now I had to create pretty much just a new character. Like, dude, that's kind of hard. Also, just like Evie, the character from last month, he is a shifter, but he's a duck. On the left, you can see his first ever design, which was an adoptable as well. And he's actually the reason that originally Evie and him and a third character used to be aliens because of those antennae on his head. I eventually scrapped those and scrapped the alien idea, but I thought about making an homage to them somehow, but I felt like there's no need to. It would just complicate the design more, and you know, it's not like a drawing childhood art video where I want to put subtle references to the original piece. This is my character. I need him to be good. So when designing his new design and his outfit and all of that, I didn't have any personality to base it off of, which is a nightmare. So I kind of just didn't, not gonna lie, for this design, at least with the clothes, there's not much of his personality. I just kind of thought, okay, well, I do know that he can turn into a duck. This is something I do have, so let's start with that and brainstorm ideas coming out of that. So at first I was like, okay, maybe I can make him have like a duck silhouette or something, but then I thought about him shifting it into a duck and like what kind of interests a duck has, and eventually I was like, oh, he probably likes water, but since he's constantly shifting into a duck, I guess, and going into water, as you do when you can become a duck, I guess. I don't know. I assume he's probably getting wet, and then I'm like, what if he's just always in like water protective clothing? And so yeah, that's just his outfit now. It's always just gonna be something that protects him from water. Listen, I need to get started on the design, and I didn't have a personality created yet, so didn't know what to do. Also, I did want to make the colors more cohesive, and I didn't want to be as bright. That was a bright green, so I definitely want to tone that mainly back a little. So that was pretty much all of the main goals I had for the design. You know, there wasn't too much I wanted to accomplish, but the personality had a long way to go, as I've discussed. So I had to think long and hard about this. it wasn't like the others where I had a foundation and I could just tweak it to make it more enjoyable of a personality or, more three-dimensional. This guy had nothing. He didn't have a personality. Like, in my head, his personality was just labeled as, like, normal. I don't know what that means. So, first things I kind of came up with were, like, some of his interests. I'm like, okay, obviously he's gonna be, like, a swim team boy. And from that, some things start to blossom. Okay, how much effort does he put in? Social interactions with the other people there. All those kind of thoughts related to that, and that slowly started developing the personality. I eventually kind of came up with, it's hard to describe, God. I still don't have the best grasp on it. I need to actually, like, think more about him and what he would do in specific situations, I guess. Like, put it to the test or think like him, I guess, is the best way to put it. To, make him a more fully realized character. Because right now it's just like a bunch of ideals and interests and stuff thrown into a pot and not much connective tissue between them, But it's a good start. It's an upgrade. So he's really hardworking and he loves getting into projects and he will always finish what he starts. He doesn't like procrastinate on things. He loves working on long, tedious projects and putting his all into them. He always keeps himself busy, doesn't like to take time to rest or, have leisure time. And this is mainly because he never likes to think about his emotions or sit down and let thoughts get to him. His way of coping with things was just suppress everything and ignore it. My whole family died? I'm fine. We're not gonna think about it. Off to do something with my life. So, yeah. And oftentimes he can, like, accidentally not take care of himself, because he doesn't really think about how he's doing ever. Like, am I hungry? Am I in pain? He doesn't keep track of all that stuff and he gets so focused into the projects he's working on and whatever he's doing that everything else can fade away and he really just, forgets to practice self-care. He does have a few close friends, mainly Evie and undisclosed third person in their group. But besides that, he, like, doesn't really like making close connections for similar reasons as Evie. Because, all the people they connected with kind of died. So, yeah. But he, unlike Evie, is really good in social situations. I'd say, like, he's always kind of, wearing a fake smile, always cheery and peppy in front of people, and he seems to be really comfortable in situations and, like, a lot of people would consider him a friend, but, it's all just kind of pleasantries. He's good at navigating a social situation and presenting himself, and he does like being in social settings. Just, he doesn't enjoy connecting with the other people there, if that makes sense. Listen, like I said, a lot of vague concepts and ideas and hobbies on my mind, and at, like, where his personality is, I can kind of, like, I myself understand his mindsets, but describing it is very hard. Like most of my characters, I can relate to him in certain ways. I feel like that's a great way to make you actually interested in your characters by having little parts of you in them. So, like, the hardworking, always, making sure he's distracted, like, a lot of that comes from me, so I can understand a lot of his day-to-day life, I guess, and how he would respond to certain situations. But once again, like, describing it is so hard. It's difficult. It doesn't help that I'm not great with words, but, like I said, at least it's more personality than he had before. And so, once I was done with a reference, I, liked what I did with him. I made his color palette better, less bright, and I even made the orange more reddish orange. Everything was looking good, so I moved on to the final drawing. And a lot of times I struggle with coming up with ideas for the final drawing because I like it to demonstrate their like interests, their powers, their story, something like that. And so I'm like, okay, I'll draw 'em at a pool, I guess. And this was where I made my big mistake in this drawing. Like, I've never really tried too hard to draw a body of water. I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes I'm like, oh, I'm gonna draw an ocean. Then I look up a reference and I'm like, never mind, that's scary. So I was very, very out of my comfort zone. And I'm not great with backgrounds and especially room design. And I haven't been to a pool in a long time, so I can't really remember too much about what they look like. So this drawing was made on a very rough foundation, like my knowledge of the things I was trying to draw. Not there, they didn't exist. This was also the first final drawing where I didn't draw someone in the clothes I used for their reference image. The reference image is just kind of supposed to be like a main outfit, I guess, or a go-to outfit. You know, it'll be their iconic outfit, but for all the characters, I want them to be able to constantly switch outfits, which is one of the reasons why I put what kind of clothing style they have on their reference images. So putting him in like a raincoat and rain boots in a pool doesn't sound like, you know, a good idea, so I didn't. Then I'm like, so what do I draw? Just a swimsuit? And then I'm like, okay, wait, I don't feel comfortable looking up references to draw someone in a swimsuit. So, any swimmer who has like any dedication to the craft would probably not wear this while swimming. But you know what? I'll challenge myself some other time. That was also another failure, I guess, of this drawing. To be fair, I'm sure you can kind of tell. I've been alluding to it. This whole drawing is just a failure. It's bad. When I came back to it after leaving it for a bit, it didn't look as bad as I remembered, but it's bad. It's so bad. The liner wasn't looking right, and so I like deleted it a few times, which you don't see, but every time it was just looking bad, and the sketch looked okay. Mainly the face was messing me up. That was fine in the sketch, but I moved on. You know, I couldn't spend all my life fixing this drawing. And then a lot of problems started arising once I reached the coloring stage. After I'd colored everything, I was like, looking kind of empty and bland and barren and incomplete. And I think that's mainly because of the gray I used for most of the background, because it's very close to white, so like it just kind of looks like a white background. I also didn't really shade a lot of the, you know, isometric bits, whatever you call them, like the walls, the isometric bits. No, the walls and the floor, I didn't shade that, besides underneath Leo. The water, I think, surprisingly turned out fine. It's passable. Like, you can tell it's water. It's fine. It looks good enough for a first attempt. I also didn't look up references because, like I said, water references kind of scare me. I think pool water references would have been less scary though, so I should have done it. But I didn't think about that till the drawing was done, so... And also, okay, there wasn't much shading that really needed to be done on Leo. It like just adds to the feeling of incompleteness. The whole thing just looks really incomplete. And I tried adding like a pattern to the floor maybe. I'm like, what do pool floors have? Checkerboard pattern? Sure, I think they do, maybe. I tried playing around with how I could add that, but I couldn't find a quick way that worked. I mean, like, the quickest way was to use the Ibis Paint texture thing, but I couldn't figure out how to position it on either the floor or the wall. like I would try thinking about and it would just break my brain. So I just gave up. And instead I tried making the floor like look like it was wet with water, cuz that always happens at pools, right? All the areas nearby like build up puddles of water. So I added that, and that added a bit to it, I guess. It still just looks really empty and incomplete and wrong. I don't like this drawing. When I was drawing it, I was much worse about it. I'm like, I don't even know if I can post this. Like, look at this. Do I just start a whole new drawing? I don't really have the time or energy for that. The final drawing isn't that important anyway, right? It's just supposed to put their new design into use. And I didn't change that much, so we can ignore it. This drawing here is not real. Look the other way. You didn't see it ever. Anyway, if you liked this video, please make sure to like and subscribe. I post every week on Sundays, so if you're interested in this kind of content I'm making, then look out for that. And these specific videos about my OCs come out at the beginning of every month. So, make sure to keep watching that if you like this. I have, 12 OCs in total, so a long way to go. And next time will be the elusive third character, also my youngest character. A little sneak peek there. And I will see you all next